Hi, I'm Reina Factor, and I am a trainee at the UCLA Center for Autism Research and Treatment. And today I want to share with you some tips for managing attentional challenges. I know during the current climate, this can be a real challenge, especially for parents where you're having to play different roles in terms of being the teacher and playmate for your child and potentially other tasks as well. So hopefully some of these tips can help. And I also wanted to commend you all for what you're doing. I know this isn't an easy feat. And it can be really challenging, and what you're doing is really admirable. So, the first tip is figuring out ways to monitor your expectations. And it's often important to think about kind of how much time your child can really pay attention to focusing on the specific material or how long they can spend on their homework. And it might not be that your child can sit and complete the entire homework assignment or sit through a whole lesson. And you might have to change your expectations a bit because that can be helpful. Once you change your expectations, then you kind of know what it might realistically look like in the home setting. It's important for you to recognize the expectations and realize that at school your child likely has a schedule where they have breaks in different classes and different subjects. Ask yourself at this time how long your child can sustain their attention. If it's for 15 minutes, then that's okay. You can kind of hang on to that and then say, okay, they'll work for 15 minutes and then take a break. It might be that 15 minutes is really what they can manage, and figuring out how to work breaks in so that they still kind of get a sense of the important information while still kind of being realistic in what you do to work with them. It's also really important to understand this concept of can't versus won't. So a lot of times children aren't doing things to be manipulative or because they just won't do something, but rather they can't. We often see this in children with ADHD or who have difficulties with remembering tasks or spending attention on things for a while. To think about that, maybe they can't complete their math homework for 30 minutes, and to really be thinking what it is their behavior is telling you. So, to really take that into consideration when you're working with them. One great strategy that kind of incorporates all of these things is the Pomodoro method. And what that consists of, there is both an app that you can download on your phone and a program on the computer. And this really sets a timer, and we'll talk about visuals in a little bit. And so they work for a bit of time and then take breaks for a bit of time. And so it can really help your child recognize they need to pay attention for a given amount of time, and then they'll have some break time as well. Finally, be willing to make compromises on what needs to get done. If they're not able to complete an assignment and it's not urgent, then that's okay. They can do some of it today and maybe some of it tomorrow, or maybe they can do some of it in the morning and some of it a little bit later. And just keep in mind, just as we're feeling that fatigue from working from home, Zoom meetings, being on our computers a lot, your child is probably also feeling that, and especially because they're not used to having to work at home in this setting, because they're used to school being their place of work. So really be aware of what is a priority in terms of what needs to be done. So the next tip is to encourage breaks. And this is really key. As I mentioned before, oftentimes, again, they do have a schedule when they're at school, and this involves taking breaks. So allowing for movement breaks. That can make a world of a difference. So make sure that they have some form of physical activity. It can be walking, swimming, hopscotch, tag, really having this in their schedule each day. And this can also help boost mood. Take breaks to do enjoyable activities. So things such as puzzles, Legos, going down the slide, and remind them before the break time that, and say, okay, you have, a 10-minute break. So you can go play with whatever it is they want to play with. And it's great if it can be something that they can come back to later, because then hopefully they won't become as distressed when it's time to go back to working. Encourage calm down activities. So this can be really helpful if you're getting a sense that they're getting to be really energetic, feeling that they have been cooped up inside all day. Encouraging ways to calm down. There are tons of fantastic yoga videos out there, mindfulness. Some of them are specifically targeted at children, teens, young adults. There are apps for your phone that you can use. Progressive muscle relaxation is another great strategy where you can kind of tense each muscle and then let them go. That is a great one for relaxation. And even if it's just for 5 minutes each day, to encourage these calm down activities. And you can also do it with them because we all know we need those calm down breaks as well. Break instructions into smaller steps. So sometimes working memory makes it difficult to hold a lot of information in our brains. Especially for children with attentional challenges, this can be especially difficult. So instead of saying, please go get your pencil, sit down at the table, and complete this math assignment, break it up into 3 specific and concrete steps. So first, I want you to go get your pencil. Great. Now sit down at the table. Fantastic. Now complete these 5 problems on your homework assignment. So make it really concrete and break it down. And because the goal is that we want them to feel successful. And finally, create a schedule that includes break times. And to learn more about how to set up a daily routine, you can see one of our previous videos by Dr. Emily Moulton, who talks a bit more about how to create daily schedules. Tip 3 is talking about managing distractions. We know that working at home is not ideal, and so it's really important to kind of minimize distractions that could come up at home. So set up a space that's just for your child to do their work or their tasks, so they know that when they go there, it is work time. So minimize any noise like phones ringing, ovens going off. There's only so much you can do with sirens outside or loud trash trucks. But as much as you can, really do your best to minimize that. Also, set up that space in an area where they don't have a lot of access to preferable activities like toys or games, because that way they can really focus on what they're doing. As I mentioned, minimizing noise and keeping it visual. So as I mentioned, the Pomodoro technique, using clocks and timers can be really, really helpful, especially if they can see, okay, I have to work on my homework assignment for this much longer. That can be really helpful. That can also help you to know when to give them warnings, if they kind of need those reminders. And if there is a visual schedule, then it helps them know, okay, I need to finish this task, and then it's time for a break. And finally, write things down. So a visual schedule can be great for that. Write down specifically what task they need to do. If you need to write down what their homework assignments are, write it down. They might be able to take notes for their classes, but if they're not there yet developmentally, then maybe help them a bit. And so you are writing things down for them so they can refer back to what they've learned. Because when you're just looking at a screen, it's easy to get distracted and not fully pay attention. And finally, stay positive. So we know that during these uncertain times, children might be having difficulty staying focused. On their tasks, and you might be feeling a lot of stress as well, with kind of trying to juggle all of these different tasks as well, but really increasing praise for wanted behavior. So, as I mentioned, with breaking down the steps, if they complete any of those directions, fantastic. Give them praise for that. So you really want to boost their praise for wanted behavior. And you can be a little bit more expressive for younger kids, and for older children, for teenagers, that it might be something like, thank you for doing that. So it's not that you're really energetic, really bubbly, but you're still kind of noticing that they're doing something that you're asking and something positive. Respond calmly to your child. So, this again can be something that's really difficult if we ourselves are feeling stressed. But remember, you might need to kind of step away from the situation. Um, Take a couple deep breaths yourself, to respond to them in a calm manner, because that will allow the situation to be a good interaction, as opposed to a stressful one for both of you. And finally, set up rewards. So, a lot of kids like working for rewards. You can talk with them about what to earn, and using things that are kind of realistic to be using or earning during this time, when they're home, can be great. Here's an example of a reward chart. So, you can write down the task. And they can put stickers or check marks, or stars, have it be very visual. And so they can mark off when they've completed that task. And you can also do it with them. So it's kind of a joint activity where they see, how they're doing to earn these rewards. And that can be really motivating for them. So, really increasing the positive in this context. Thank you so much for listening. Here are some additional resources, our CART website, and feel free to contact us if you do have any questions. I'll go back to the slide. Our email is located here. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and be healthy.